Live with the community, this is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development Biweekly Call, where we talk about everything under the Microsoft cloud together and see some amazing presenters. My name is David Warner with Microsoft. Today is April 28th. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. It's going to be the latest on PNP Framework and SD Core extensions, latest on PNP PowerShell, Yo Teams, Microsoft Graph Toolkit, and more. Microsoft Teams samples, Power Platform samples, script samples. We've got samples. You want samples. Everybody loves the samples. We're going to talk about them. Then we're going to get into the ever favorite time, which is Together Mode Picture Time. Then our all-stars of the day, Natalie Pienkowska and Roy Parr, are going to talk about updates on the independent publisher connectors and GitLab connector demo. Exciting stuff. Andre Lager is going to cover list formatting magic, discussion board formatting, and then Tommy Gouls is going to cover TeamsFX.net Teams Explorer sample. So lots of amazing stuff in store for us. Let's talk about how you can get involved and participate in the community. We would absolutely love to see everyone and anyone who has a sample to show to share it on this community call. We invite everyone. You can make a request through that demo URL right there that you find in your chat, as well as aka.ms/m365pnp/request/demo. You are always welcome to contribute on GitHub. We have a number of sample repositories in which we will talk about shortly. And then, of course, we'd want to hear about feedback. So if you have any suggestions or advice, or hey, we'd love to hear that things are working. What do you like? We want to hear about it. So please don't hesitate to reach out and provide that information. There are a number of resources available to you within the community. There are 2 video channels on YouTube, one for Microsoft 365 Developer and another for Microsoft 365 Community. We have open source initiatives around SharePoint, Office Dev, Microsoft Graph, and as I mentioned, a plethora of sample galleries, Teams, SPFX, Power Platform, extensions, list formatting, script samples, oh my. So don't hesitate to take advantage of them. And you're thinking, what are all those links? Do I have to remember them all? No, you do not. Only one, aka.ms/m365pnp, will take you to all of the goodness that is available to you in the community. Now, if you like this call, we've got more. Microsoft 365 developer community calls are available for you to subscribe to and join. The Microsoft 365 platform call is a call that is driven by Microsoft. So you're always going to find Microsoft presenters on that call. It is worth a note that this is going to take a summer break between July 1st and the 31st of August. So be aware that there'll be a break there for that in the summer. But you can always join the other calls that are available: Adaptive Cards, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office Add-ins, Power Platform, and these 2 calls done by the PNP team, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development, and Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework. Again, all available at aka.ms/m365pnp. Now, you may be asking, how can I get involved in these sample repositories in the community? Present, how can I get more involved in the areas that I have the passion? Sharing is Caring is a program that has been set up to provide you hands-on guidance so that you can get more involved. You can absolutely sign up for any of these sessions, and we will work alongside with you, hand in hand, live in safe space opportunities where it's not recorded, so you are free to ask any and all questions, and we will learn together how to do things like, hey, I've never done a pull request in GitHub. I've never presented. I would like to get some guidance. We're going to do all that together. Absolutely free, safe space that covers a number of the sample repositories that we're going to talk about. All the principles are applicable, and they are wonderful opportunities to collaborate with other members of the community, Microsoft, and MVPs. So don't hesitate to take advantage of that. Now, one of the newest and most popular, fastest rising sample repositories is script samples. We have some new scenarios: GitHub site details and export it to CSV by Chandani, export OneDrive admins by Matt Marr. We've got updates on implemented with alternative tools, so GitHub sites and export them. 2 additional tool updates by JC and Chandani again. List guests within Teams and a tenant by JC, and export a CSV report on all whiteboards by Nandeep. So again, thank you for everyone. This is a fantastic newer repository managed by Paul Bullock. Of course, we've got some badges to hand out for everybody. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, and 200 plus script samples. So that is really, really fantastic. Thank you to everyone who's contributed to that. And those badges, you say? Well, we have a recognition program that is here to officially celebrate and recognize all the work that you're doing in the community. These are powered by Credly. Yes, that same Credly that handles the certification badges for Microsoft. So you can associate them to LinkedIn, share them on Twitter, put them on your website, put them on your blog. Absolutely want to celebrate all the work you're doing. It is great to show to clients and managers to show that you are getting involved and making a difference in the community. And we want to provide that official and accredited way for you to do that. You can sign up. We do need you to opt in, which you can do at aka.ms/m365pnp-recognition. It is absolutely free, no cost at all. And we will start tracking the work that you're doing within GitHub and other areas of the community. Now, one of those areas of the community that you can learn more about is the Microsoft 365 platform call. The next call, as I mentioned, these calls are from Microsoft, is on the 3rd of May. The agenda is going to be with Aaron on extending your Microsoft Teams app to Outlook and Office. James and Bert are going to be introducing a new M365 assessment tool with SharePoint syntax module, and Nancy will cover running Office scripts with a button now for Excel and Windows. So lots of goodness here. Again, direct from Microsoft. You do not want to hesitate to miss these calls. So sign up at ak.ms/m365-call. And let's move into .NET libraries, and for that, we'll hand it over to Bert.
Thank you, David. I want to start with kind of announcing a release. We shipped the Microsoft 365 assessment tool, which is the successor of the modernization scanner. So folks that used that tool in the past, that had like various modules, could scan for workflow, pages, and so on. This is a new platform that will replace it, which is more reliable, robust. You can kind of start and scan, stop it, restart it again. So there's a ton of improvements. And the first module in this with this assessment tool is a SharePoint syntax assessment. We'll talk about it next week, Tuesday, in the call. But this will enable you to scan your tenant and find places where using syntax will add value. But more for next week for that one. So for PNP Core SDK, I want to give a shout out to Matthijs Verbeek. Matthijs reached out and said, like, I want to help close issues. He said, okay, sure, great. More people that want to help, perfect. But he did a ton of issues. He did navigation support, team tab channel creations, list item copy move using copy jobs, team chat support, and he's working on additional stuff. So great job, Matthijs. Thank you very much. Other people like Dennis, Sergey, and Koen did several smaller or bigger enhancements and fixes. So overall, Core SDK is moving forward. The issue list is under one page in GitHub, which makes me happy. So it feels under control. And usage of these libraries is keeps on growing and growing. So I think that covers it, David. Let's move to Gautam for PowerShell.
Hi, thanks, Bert. Unlike you, PNP PowerShell has an issue list spanning 5 pages. So if anybody in the community would like to help us, please reach out and pick up any issues that you would like to do that. About PNP PowerShell, yep, we released PNP PowerShell 1.10 a couple of weeks ago. It has like around 150K downloads and all that kind of stuff going on. It is like PNP PowerShell is a module that you can use to interact with Microsoft products such as SharePoint Online, Teams, Project, Security Compliance, and Azure AD, and even more like Microsoft, like Power Automate or Flow earlier that we used to call. What is coming up in the current version is we added a new command so that in private channel that is present in the team, you are able to add an owner or a member of that particular team. One other thing that used to happen is whenever you create a new Microsoft 365 unified group, a welcome email used to get sent. So you can disable that using this resource behavior option. So we added that particular parameter to that command, and more commands have been added to the autocomplete functionality. So probably we can give a demo sometime later on, but yeah, this is something that we are working on. Besides that, we also wrote a blog covering what we released in 1.10. So you can check that blog in the chat here. Yep, that's pretty much from my end. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you both. Excellent work there. Exciting stuff. Let's move on to Yo Teams, where we continue to see the usage of Yo Teams increasing. In fact, so much excitement that 4.0 has been planned for mid-May. So look for the preview in the next few weeks to include new at Microsoft/Teams-JS SDK v2.0 and deprecation of a few unused features. So you can always learn more at aka.ms/Yo Teams. Now let's talk about Microsoft Graph Toolkit. Microsoft Graph Toolkit is a technology-agnostic collection of components that you can include in your SharePoint Framework solutions and other Microsoft 365 components. Super exciting stuff, very easy to implement. You can even use it in the React Microsoft Content Query web part. So really exciting usage of being able to tap into the graph with low barriers of entry. So don't hesitate to learn more. You can do that at aka.ms/MGT. And in fact, there is a new samples repository, which you can see all the goodness that is available with live links to click and see exactly how they work. So aka.ms/MGT/samples will take you to that particular sample gallery. Next up is Microsoft Teams samples. That's just a quick way of saying team samples now. New in Node and TypeScript, HR Talent App Sample and Tutorial by Scott and Jack. So very, very cool sample. You can check it out at aka.ms/HR-talent-app-node. And you're always welcome to provide more samples. We're always open to more samples that are available to you and the community. So please don't hesitate to do that. You can see them at aka.ms/Teams samples. And last but not least is Power Platform samples. This is a plethora of Power Platform samples that are available to everyone in the community and always growing. You've got Power Apps components, connectors, Teams or Power Effects, Power Automate, Power BI, Power Virtual Agents. Lots of amazing samples here by all of you incredible contributors. So we thank you. And if you're like, I want my sample to be in that repository, in that collection, we got you covered. You can join the Power Platform Contributor Sharing is Caring session on May 9th, and we're going to show you some amazing stuff in how you can contribute your sample. And all you need to do that, by the way, is a GitHub account and a browser. So I'll leave the mysteriousness there. A GitHub account and a browser, and you're going to be able to contribute to this repository. So don't hesitate. We'd love to see you and collaborate with you. Now it's time for optional picture time. So we'll hand it over to Vesa, and if you want to turn on your cameras, you will be able to wave to the community and show everyone how you are amazing and part of our incredible community.
So let's do let's do that one today. So we're looking into building a Microsoft 365 platform community specific to Get mode as well, but we're still betting on getting that one done. Let's wait a few more seconds. We'll get a few more people and cats. Let's not miss the cats. A few more people and cats on the screen. I can see a cat there, and there's some ghost as well on the front row. I think we have one more seat on the front row. I will enable my camera, so we'll get to one more row. A few more. I guess we are getting there. So let me click at the recording button and let's do some hand waving for other people in the community. Thank you for joining once again. Awesome to have you as part of the community, and awesome to see all of the smiling faces in the screen always. So thank you for that. Really, really cool. Awesome. That's great. We're going to take a GIF animation out of that and publish that as part of the blog post as well. Thank you for that.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Vesa, and thank you, everyone, for being an awesome part of the community. Let's move into our amazing all-star presenters of the day. We're going to begin with Natalie and Roy, where they're going to provide some updates on the independent publisher connectors, and then we're going to see a GitLab connector demo. I'm super excited for this one. So Natalie and Roy, take it away.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing good today. So for independent publisher connectors, those are Power Platform connectors that are submitted and published by anyone. All you have to do is build the connector and submit it to GitHub, and the entire certification process happens in there. So I have a super awesome announcement. We have over 113 connectors in production. So last time I was here, I believe two weeks ago, or no, a month ago, sorry, we had around 76. So we've published so many more, and we've hit our 100 milestone before our anniversary, which is incredible. So thank you so much to all the 41 outstanding publishers. Some folks, including Roy, who's on the call today and who will be demoing, have published more than one connector, which is so awesome. And we have 4 new independent publishers this month. Landon, Nandeep, Robin, and Timo. So it's super awesome to see this community growing, new people joining, and also with just the amount of connectors that we have in production. It's incredible. And we also have 31 more to go, 31 more that are in our pipeline currently and still haven't been published. So keep a lookout for many more to come in the next few months. Today's demo will be on the GitLab connector, and Roy will be giving that demo today. So Roy, over to you.
Thanks, Natalie. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. So my latest connector for the Independent Publisher Program was a GitLab connector. For those of you who don't know about GitLab, it's an alternative to GitHub or Azure DevOps, and just wanted to see if I could use this connector to set up a DevOps pipeline for some Power Platform work I've been doing. The connector's out there on the connector site. If you take a look in the connector itself, I've got a handful of actions in here that leverage the GitLab API. Some of them are just getting basic version information, but also some of them can do things like creating a project in GitLab, forking, creating a branch in your repo, a commit, creating what's called a merge request in GitLab, which is a pull request in GitHub. I can do things like merge my merge request or update my merge request. I can get files out of my repo. And I can also do things like trigger a CI/CD pipeline in GitLab, create a trigger token for my pipeline, and then use that to trigger it. And I can also enable what's called a GitLab runner for my project. So, you know, where Azure DevOps uses agent pools and things like that, GitLab has a GitLab runner. So what I wanted to do with this was see if I could leverage what's called the ALM Accelerator for Makers, which is I think one of the first versions of a tool that the PowerCat team here at Microsoft built for Power Platform with GitHub in the back end. I wanted to take out GitHub and replace it with GitLab. So what I'm showing here is in my COE environment, I've got the ALM Accelerator for Makers solution by the PowerCat team, but then I've also got my solution here with my GitLab connector. If I open up that solution, we can see all the components that came with the accelerator from the PowerCat team, but also I've got my GitLab connector, and then I've replaced all the actions in the flows with my GitLab actions. The solution also has sort of an admin app, Canvas app, and then it's also got a maker app where I can request a new project. What I added to the admin app was a few new fields to capture things like my GitLab group number. So this is kind of my account within GitLab where all my repos will live. A runner ID, which is what I pass in when I trigger a pipeline and connect it to a specific GitLab runner. And then I also tell the pipeline where my YAML template is to run the different actions in my pipeline. So where this starts, and I'll kind of keep this quick because there's a lot to show here. I request a new project as a maker, so let's call this my Thursday demo. That creates a project record for me in Dataverse, and then it sends an approvals request to my system admin. And while that's coming through, I'll show you on the GitLab side. So with GitHub, there's what's called GitHub Actions for Power Platform, and those leverage the Power Platform command line. GitLab doesn't have anything like that, so I had to spin up an Azure VM, install GitLab Runner, and then as I trigger pipelines in GitLab, it'll start to leverage this Azure VM with GitLab Runner to run the Power Platform command line, just like it would in GitHub. So I'll go here and I'll approve my new project request. And what happens now is that'll trigger some Power Automate flows in the background to, let's see here, create project is my flow. And as that runs, it'll leverage the new GitLab connector and the actions in that connector to create a sandbox environment for me. It's going to assign some security roles to my maker. It'll create a repo in GitLab for me. It'll set up my sandbox environment with solutions from production, and then it'll create a blank solution for me in my new sandbox where I can build my Canvas app or my flow or whatever it is I'm working on. So if I look at this create environment here, if I go into the admin center, I'll see if I hit refresh, I should have my new sandbox environment now. There's my Thursday demo environment. If I go back to my flow here, it should have created a repo for me in GitLab. So if I go to my GitLab tenant and hit refresh, there's my Thursday demo GitLab repo. Here's my CI/CD test repo where I've got my YAML template that specifies all the steps in my pipelines for me. So as I run pipelines in my Thursday demo repo, it'll look to this repo for the actual steps to run. And it looks like this completed. So if I go back to my maker app here, it says, okay, your project has been approved and it's all set up for you. You can go ahead and open your project solution. That pops me right into our new sandbox environment, into my new solution, my blank solution, where I'll just create just a basic Canvas app. Let's call it Thursday app. And I'll just do something simple and create an app with a button here. That looks good. Save that to the cloud and then close my app. So now I've got a solution in my sandbox with an app, and as a maker, I want to go ahead and deploy that to my test environment. So I go back to my ALM Accelerator app and I click deploy, choose my environment, and confirm. And what that does is it kicks off some other Power Automate flows in the background, one of which is deploy to stage here. And this one will, let me just open this one up. So it'll create a build environment for me. It'll push my solution into the build environment, and then it'll eventually push it into the test environment if the build is successful. So if I go to the admin center, I can see now I should have a new build environment being provisioned. And once that's done, it's going to actually trigger my CI/CD pipeline in GitLab, which will do the rest of the work to extract my solution, unpack it, check it into source control, and then push it into the environments. So if I look at this step here, trigger CI/CD pipeline, if I go into my Thursday demo repo here in GitLab, and I go to CI/CD. So this is pending, it's waiting for resources. But once this kicks off, this will look to my other, I guess, template repo for my YAML file. This is where it pulled in the steps for my deployment. You can see it's going to clone my repo to my VM here. So if I look at my local copy now, I've got my Thursday demo files here in my Azure VM. Going to export my solution from the sandbox. It'll unpack it, check it into source control, push it to the build environment, push it to the test environment, and then at the end, it'll trigger a webhook to update my my project status in my Maker app as successfully deployed. So this takes some time to complete. I don't know how much time we have for the demo here, but I'm happy to finish it up or pass it off if we need someone else to get going.
We believe you, Roy. It'll finish. We have a couple minutes left in the demo slot, but was there anything else you want to show, or was?
Nope, this is it.
Awesome. Okay.
There's a new version of the GitLab connector that I built that I'll push out later this week or early next week with some additional features. So thanks
Very
for the
cool.
opportunity to share.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Really, really cool stuff. Thank you and Natalie both for coming on today. And these are really great segments to show off the power of the independent publisher connectors and how far reaching they are. All right, let's move on to Andre on some list formatting. He's going to show us a discussion board list formatting option. Andre, take it away.
So there was one update, so that is today is not regarding the discussion board, but will be about the customization on the board formatting. So let me only present myself, and my name is Andre Lage. I work in a Swiss company called DataLinks, and these are my social information itself. And what is the idea here? So here I wanted to start to use the board view that we have it on Microsoft lists and to use what is already out there. So as using as the normal consultant approach, I try to answer the 5 main questions: what, when, why, and who, and why we should use it. And for that, I pick the current board view, and I try to see what is out there, and also on the current application from Microsoft 365, and see how can we improve the ability of the board with moving the board cards between one place and another. So what was identified? I identified that Planner is a very good example how we can use it, and I wanted to implement it on the list to improve the solution that is there, but to respond to my own needs. I'm not saying this is a migration from the Planner to list, but I want to have it the same capabilities plus some additional features itself. So I use the Planner as one of my base of work. Another thing that I'm going to do is to include also on the top of this of the board formatting 3 different features that is called the flag card, the move to the top, and expand and collapse the cards. And then to complement everything, because it's not only to make the customization of the board, basically what the output will be definitely transparent to and visualized by the Microsoft list rules, SharePoint page, filter web patch, and of course the implementation with Power Automate with adaptive patch, and you can see it on Microsoft Teams. The normal lifecycle service for every time that we need to create a formatting. It's not only create JSON right away, you need to prepare your work, prepare what you want to achieve, and prepare the context that you want to work itself. And for that, this is the full process of the boarding task that I want to improve, and I wanted to pick and work itself. As you see here, so this will be a redesign of the full card using a lot of the features that I identify on the Planner itself. And based on the different conditions, there will be this option here that will pop up the card that we have a better description and visualization of this information. So I will have 2 types of cards: the card for visualization and to edit and to display the information, and also the board card that will be able to move between our board. And this will generate the flows that will create a post in our channel using adaptive cards and also the creation of the rules. So as defined before, so I went to the Planner, I identify what is there, what is really good, and I say, okay, this is something that can I improve, I can reuse it and adapt to my own needs on the list formatting. One is the board itself, and the second is the card itself. That I want to display every time I want to visualize and define. So what I have done, I pick the meta information, and then I try to make a mapping how this will represent itself on the list itself. So as you can see, from the left side, this is the cards that is coming from the Planner, and I make a mapping from the right side how the card will be displayed on the list formatting itself. We always talking on the board, and this is what you're going to see on the board when you're going to move it to the cards. And the same will be directly on the Planner board card. This is what existed there and how I adapted and create some additional features that I will describe it later on. So what and where is going to be positioned on the new board card that I customize. Saying this, what is the features additional features that, for example, the Planner has it? So the ability to move the board card to up and down. Since list formatting is a little more limited, The only option that I proved is I pick the card and I move it to the top itself. And for this, I use the current capability from the views from the list, and I change the order. I have a support field that is called order, and in this field, I save the date that the date, and because the date can be transformed to numbers, and all is going to be the higher number. So basically what it's going to do, since I'm ordering the column order by ascending, he's only, the moment I define as top, he's going to move the card to the top itself based on the sorting that I defined on the field. As you can see, it will be a menu and the option will appear there. The same, another option that I think is really useful is the ability on the card, on the board card, to expand and collapse, because we have cards that can have multiple content and it will be hard to visualize in such a small page itself. So for this, I identify that expand and collapse the card is very important, and I implemented because this will be useful to optimize our space, and we can create multiple tasks that can be easily identified. I will also show the example. And the third one is that I identify from another boards outside the Microsoft world is the ability to create the flags. And this is more for visual representation. For example, if we have all the cards with the same color, people can see, okay, that is something important. But if we have a color, people will definitely make focus and know that some action needs to be taken there. And this is why I defined this whole ability to create these flags itself. So let's go to the demo. I already have a list, and here I already prepare some content with some of the fields that I took boefore and already pre-prepared it itself. So what is the normal out-of-the-box behavior? If we go to out-of-the-box board, and then I choose, I will filter by the category. So I will create. And what will happen here? Here we're going to see the out-of-the-box card. But as you can see, there is something that doesn't match. We need something else because we need something that is really productive itself. Even it is very useful and really great with using the ability and to customize the cards. I want to do something a little better. And for that, I create this customization that I'm just going to access here. And if you go to the list formattings, there is already one example that you can already pick. And I'm going to copy the content that we have it there. So just one thing. Exactly. And then I'm going to display. And as you can see here, all the cards was already transformed based on the fields that was talked before, and also with the ability to make some additions. So we have the description, we have the title, and here is the card that we was talking about. And this will take some actions associated here. As you can see, in a straightforward and simple way, using the GitHub repository, you can already customize super fast. Just going to change for my already customized because there are some custom features that I want to specifically show it. It is the ability, for example, as you said it, like I said it before, to expand and collapse itself. Another thing that we can also define is the assignment of the user. I have one user and I will include another one. I will put again myself. And for example, for this task, I can include some additional assigned person that needs to take care. For example, ability to define tags. And for example, I have a tag with 6 because I can have it more than one and can be visualized directly there. As you can see, you can edit it directly from there. At any moment, we can define the progress, and we can also define what is the importance of this task itself. If I define important, this can be a good candidate that we can use it for our rules. We can create a very simple rule. When is a change on the priority for urgent, I wanted to send the email to all the assignee. And right away, we already create a rule that will be automatically communicate for the audience, or in this case, the assignees that we want to make some actions itself. And any moment, as you can see here, we have a start date and an end date. For here, we can also, at any moment, and here is also a formatting that we can compress the date. I rearrange them that can be easily visualized, but also easy to be editable and user-friendly itself. Another option that I was included was the menu options. As you can see here, there are two different types of menu options. One, ability to add the flags, like I said it before, to copy the link, to move to the top, minimize. But I also have the ability, like we have it, for example, in Planner, to move the cards to the different areas. Let's go for a very simple example. I click it here, and he will move it to the right area. The same, I can do it with a hand. Go back and go forth. And of course, we can define different rules for each one of these areas itself. Another thing that was also included here is the ability to, at any moment, to know if someone creates some comments or not regarding to be visualized directly on the card. Hi, this is info. So I will go here, and if we go to the area, we see that it's already one comment itself. And any moment, we're going to see all the actions that is associated. So we have it here. So another thing that we can say, like I said, the ability to include a flag. And the flag will give us the visual representation. Of course, if we don't want to see it right away, we can always minimize. As you can see, we can earn a lot of space. Remember what I said regarding the moving of the boards? We are limited with this. So I will show how we can do the action. So I will click on the option move to the top. And then when I go to the left, you're going to see that he already changed the order. When I return it back, he moved it to the top. The only issue here is this is not asynchronous and will not update right away. How this was done? So if we go to the list settings, the only thing that was done, we create a support column that is called order. We went to the, for example, for the task box. And what I do is just change the order itself. And then we'll change the order how we're going to see the field. So it's going to move to the top. Now I want to move the who to the top. I can do the same. I'm just going to save it here. And the next time I make an update, so just going to move to the top. So let's see if everything is okay. Okay, and then the card went to the top itself. And this is a very simple option. Another thing that we can also do is, for example, if we want to cancel a card, automatically will be scratched. And as you can see, we can also define other type of rules. For example, for this card here, so just going to close it, I'm going to expand it, and I'm going to access to our code. And what I want to do, so just going to minimize this one here. And I want to go to the completed. So what I want to do is to create a very simple action. So I go here, category. Okay, I have it here that will be changed to the role. So what I want to do, and I hope everything will be run fine. So expand. And what I want to do is a condition that is if expand equal false, then becomes true or false. So we're just going to implement. And if I create something like this, as you can see, the card was expanded automatically. When we say it's completed, we'll minimize. This will be interesting if we have multiple tasks and we wanted to have a better visualization itself. And the same way we have the cards with the timeline point of view, we can also have, and this is also available, a task that we have like a normal card, and the menu will appear on the top left. Of course, we also have the ability to edit properties and all the other options that was available before. Another thing, like I told it before, the same way we have the card here, there is also one additional card that you can have the visualization. So what is the idea? The same card that we use it to visualize is the same that we use it for editing and to visualize on more detail. And of course, we can do all the change associated there. And for this, we come with integration with our Microsoft SharePoint page. So this is my current SharePoint page where I have all the output from the different board itself. And of course, I can make a filter and this will make some actions associated. As you see here, all the same menus options that we have there will also be able to have it here. And if I start to move, so the category will be automatically updated, and also that will happen with our filter. So we can have it, the menus, the filter, the mapping, and all these capabilities itself in a very straightforward approach that we can have it everything in a point of centralized. And then comes to our last action itself. The moment I define a card as completed, I want that to do some actions associated here. And for that, I have here one adaptive card. So the moment the card is completed, I will receive from the flows a card that will be pre-filled itself, where this can be defined. This is my flow, this is my condition, and this is the card itself. What I have done, I prepare my card with the image, with the metadata that it needs to be received, and then I just include it on my solution itself. And then I have the visualization on an integration with the teams. So this is the full cycle with the boarding, how we can make it in a way that is not only for the visualization, but also how you can use it and to optimize it in a way that can be more adaptive for your own needs itself. Just going to access it here, and like this, and then we can also use it for our own different needs, and also with the different capabilities itself. And this is something that we can already start to make some actions associated. So this is a very simple example with the full process and with the full customization of your port. And the key here is using your consultant capabilities. The formatting always has to respond to business needs. And these examples plus the sub-formatting like the date compress can also be accessed to your list formatting. And I hope this sample can help you to prepare your task and your solutions that you can easily identify from outside, and you can also implement it for your own business needs and in better and improve it, and using the different capabilities from Microsoft 365. And that's it, everything from my side. David, pass to you.
Excellent, Andre. This is amazing. And yeah, just for those watching at home, this was a SharePoint list. So the maturity that list formatting has brought forward is amazing, and what you're all doing with it is fantastic. And you can have it all for the low price of free, by the way. It's all in the samples. Andre has uploaded it, so definitely take advantage. So thank you again. Great stuff. Next up, we'll move to Teams Explorer samples using teamseffects.net with Tommy. Take it away.
Hello, hello. Can you see my screen?
Can see your screen. The pastures of grass looks great.
Perfect. And David and Wesley, we need to talk seriously. Last time Chris blew everyone away after me with list formatting. Now someone before my talk blows away the audience with list formatting.
It's not planned.
I seriously need to rethink my commitment here.
Welcome.
It's unbelievable what guys are doing with just SharePoint list. Kudos to you. Kudos, really. Okay, so let's start with my part of today's talk. Short introduction. I'm a team lead at Solvion. Here are all my social connections to reach me. That's the important part on that screen. To give you some reference or to make some context clear, what I want to talk about to you today is Teams development, and you are probably all familiar with that kind of graphic or screen. What we want to do today is that we want to create a tab using web technologies, calling Microsoft Graph with Visual Studio. So ticking a few of the boxes of this Microsoft slide, what we're going to use to do that, something that I talked about like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we will use TeamsFX as a library. Here we are. And of course, we will write .NET code. Again, let me make a short joke on cost of our React friends. I promise there won't be any promise in my code because it's .NET. Just for reference, what is the TeamsFX on this slide? Like the toolkit, and this is a library that is provided by the Microsoft Dev and Teams team to allow you to reuse their investments in terms of the library so that you can easily integrate your applications or start from scratch. And basically, you have a nice library that helps you with things like authentication and a couple of setting in Teams. And that is exactly what we're going to look at right now. So from here now, let's move actually into the demo. At first, I will start the application first. So we will have a short idea what we're going to look at. And I'm opening up it over here in this window. Very simplistic UI at the beginning. I select one of my teams that I joined. A nice spinner waits for a couple of seconds and comes back with some data from a couple of graph endpoints. The idea of this application is basically really something that I created for myself a couple of months ago, because when you develop for Microsoft Teams and you're doing proof of concepts, you always need those IDs of certain teams, of your channels, of your team. And of course, you can go to a great tool of Graph Explorer. You can go to Postman and reuse all those tools to always get those ideas. I like to have my own UI at first because, first of all, I learned TeamsFX a little bit that way. And second of all, I just want to have like, these are my joint teams in that tenant. I click that, what I need to work on right now. And then after a couple of seconds, it shows me all the properties of the team, like, yeah, all that's coming back from the Teams object from the graph call, all my installed apps in that team. So it's not only the things that I deployed there or you as a developer deployed there, but also, of course, the built-in applications that are available in Teams. And in Teams, everything is application. Breakout rooms is application. The calendar is application. Calling is application. And that became handy already a little bit if you need to adjust policies and you need those IDs. And yeah, it's just another way to retrieve this information directly in Teams without the need to go to Postman or to Graph Explorer, because remember, Teams is all about reducing context switches. So we have here channels, of course, so we can have a look into what is the graph giving us, what is the API giving us in terms of channels, and how are they represented in the API with all their IDs. And there should be a reference over here. Still, those things should mean something to people that used to work with Skype. Same nomination like back in the days. Of course, also the members are there, so you can have a look at also what are the team members in your specific team. That's important, or that's something that helps if you create a bot that should mention someone or that should notify someone, then you need a couple of those IDs. And that's basically the idea of this little help application that I created for myself. And then it was like time, okay, let's make that a proper sample so that the whole community can have it and play with it. And that was the idea somehow, I think, in November last year. And yeah, I'm still not done. We will see that it's a lot more than it was back in November. But what's missing still, that to be a sample in the PNP repo, in the community sample, is I need to create the documentation and the README, because of course I added a couple of features and I did a couple of things that make it more complex to deploy, and I need to really describe that so that you can also deploy that to your local tenant. But let's have a look at the application itself, or how we can achieve that. So let's start from the Teams manifest. Of course, it's a TeamsFX solution. So I went through and created a new Teams tab based on the template. If you're not familiar with TeamsFX, there should be a YouTube video out from the last community call, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, where we introduced you to TeamsFX in general. I won't go into detail to that. So we want to spend our time really like, okay, we assume that TeamsFX is known. And with that, we assume that, okay, you're a Teams developer, you know what a Teams manifest is. And we start by looking at what is our static tab, because what we saw first was a private tab in the UI world. In the API world, it's called a static tab. It's a content URL with /tab. So let's find that page. Going to pages, tab, here we are. Very simplistic, using Teams Explorer components, a nice UI representation with that card of a certain UI framework, and then my Teams Explorer. And the last time I showed you Teams FX or Blazor, actually, that's the technology that we are using here. I just started with the sample project that comes basically out of the box with Teams FX. This one is already modified, so there is no C# code down there. So everyone that listens or reads Uncle Bob's books of software architecture and clean architecture, we are not messing around with these things today here. So that's clean code, clean Blazor code. Why Blazor? You see a reference to certain C# elements directly in HTML. And that's the beauty of Blazor, that you can use C# in the front end. But again, we have this dropdown. Remember from the demo, basically that's the only thing in there that is generating an event, because when we change something, then we show different values in our tabs here, in our items. And I created a couple of different tables to represent the data. And basically those tables are then, populated with values from our variables in here. In the backend, of course, there is a C# file. You can always create a Razor component and create a code behind file by just naming a new class exactly like your Razor file, like component.razor.cs, and then add the partial keyword on top of it, because with that, Visual Studio and the .NET world basically realizes, okay, I need to mix up those files during compilation or exactly before compilation so that we can create clean code. So we have a partial class here with, again, you see here the definition of all those values from the front. And then it's pretty straightforward. In our lifecycle method on after render async, we are saying join teams, await data service get teams. So again, something that I'm introducing you to now compared to the sample from 2 weeks ago, we're calling an actual service in here. So we're not messing around with business logic or data logic in our UI code, also not in the code behind file, because this basically just reacts on render, creates the first initial list of my joined teams. The nice notification that we saw, this green bulb saying, okay, we're good. And then it reacts on team select change event. And with the on team select change event, again, a couple of service calls that grab new fresh loaded data. And down there's just another method that basically gets rid of all the existing information in case of we load information for a new team. So we want to see the spinner again and keep our UI responsive and nice and easy. So the magic, so to speak, of course, is behind this data service. Let's have a look at that data service, because we are using dependency injection from .NET 6. Why? Because we are a normal .NET 6 web application. That means in our program CS, we are registering services that are available within the application. And of course, the folks that created Teams FX also registered their services in there. So Teams FX, Microsoft Teams, that's also part of our service chain. And with dependency injection, we can make use of the services. You will see already, I also added the PnP core in there. So we can also talk to SharePoint with that service. And of course, I'm registering our own service as well in there. So it's available to our front-end code. And in the service then, we are basically using, again, dependency injection to get the service references. And then with the get teams call, at first, we're going to create a graph client. And the graph client is something that already is also taken care of in some regards by Teams FX, because using the graph of provider and using the Teams user credential, both things that are available through Teams FX, you can easily call a graph service client or create a graph service client. And with that, you are back to, let's say, regular .NET SDK of Microsoft Graph. And then it's easy peasy calling graph, join teams, and getting our teams back. Of course, a little bit of sorting so that we have nice alphabetically order. And down there, get team details, all those different graph calls to get the team details and basically create a property list. So brute forcing basically over the class, over the type, and getting back all the properties for different graph calls. For the teams call, for the install apps, it's always the same idea. Get the object back from graph and iterate through it. And we can also make one more thing. We can use our configuration, of course, and you see here Teams Explorer. So I can go in here and say, I want to show as SharePoint Online data, and I also want to activate the fancy mode. And of course, you see down there the PNP core config with a certificate. So we'll talk about that in a second, but normal app settings JSON, we are using Blazor server, so it's okay to have this app settings file. It's on the server, it's not in the client, it's not in the browser of your user. Just run again. Takes a couple of seconds to spin up the local debugging. I already modified the string was not true. What did I? Okay, of course you should write proper English in here. My mistake. Let's rerun again. And with that, we have a fancy mode. So we have Parker in here because I get always mocked on my design capabilities. Now I added Parker, so no one can mess again with my design because now you would mess with Parker as well, and no one dares to do that. But if I now select a team here, you see there are two more tabs, SharePoint site properties and SharePoint web properties. Takes a couple of seconds again to load all the data. Now a little bit more because we are also waiting on our calls coming back from the SharePoint world. So the PNP core library, again, team, installed apps, channels, members. And if I go now here to SharePoint online site properties, that's the properties of the site collection. You see all those fancy things in there. And sometimes it's just really, you need a use case to use the authentication of the PNP core library. That's my use case for that. And the web properties, and you go all the way through. And again, in terms of authentication, the idea is that I'm using my own application definition for calling the PNP core library with my certificate. Why? Because, of course, for the graph part, I'm reusing what TeamsFX gives me in terms of the SSO token. But for the PNP core library, I might want to have application permissions because I might want to do something else in there. And then a second application comes in handy in here. With that, let's just make a short wrap up what you saw today. Teams Explorer, it's a sample tab that looks behind the curtain of a couple of graph and SPO endpoints. We're using TeamsFX single sign-on for graph call and a certificate-based application in Azure AD for calling PNP core. And you saw a lot of components. We talked about dependency injection, code behind, launch settings, and saw some UI settings. With that, I'm giving it back to David. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Tommy. That's really, really cool stuff, and really appreciate the depth you went in there to show how it can all be put together. All right, let's wrap everything up. We want to thank all of our amazing presenters today, Natalie, Roy, Andre, and Tommy. Really fantastic demos. You are the best part of this community, everyone sharing with us all of the amazing things that you're building. So thank you. Please don't ever stop. The recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 Community YouTube channel, aka.ms/m365pnp/videos. If you subscribe, you will automatically get alerted when new videos are available, so you don't even have to go look. We'll tell you. You can follow us on Twitter at Microsoft365Dev and at M365PNP. The next M365 General Dev Call will be on May 12th, 7 a.m. Pacific time. We will see you next week at the Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework Call May 5th at 7 a.m. You can always subscribe to all of these calls at ak.ms/M365PNP. Excellent call, everyone. Thank you again for being so collaborative and conversational on the chat. Please come back and we will absolutely have more amazing demos from the community to share with you. Have a wonderful rest of the week and a great weekend. Thank you.